spoke about brands, we spoke about how they are built, but we all know that people actually make everything, right? Interestingly, what is happening is after this, the main session is going to start, which is awards. People are like, I'm there, but not there. So this is our opportunity for us to kind of make all of them awake, right? So you are supposed to ask questions to people. Please do that. Some rapid fire. So I was just thinking about a rapid fire to the audience, but then let me decide whether I would want to do that. So my name is Vishwanadh. We have one of the best talent spokes. In fact, these three people are known to me for the last 15 years, right? So there will be some questions that you don't know that I'm going to ask. So please bear with me. So let's start with Murli.
Sure.
So Murli, generative AI, right? Every one of you know about what is generative AI. But then when we go to the next question, what is generative AI? Not many people know about it. So I would want you to talk about a little bit on generative AI in HR, especially in the people business. Thank you. And now that you also have seen the world where you worked in large corporates and now you're also building a corporate of yourself, which is one of the reputed organization, Brands of Repute, talk about it. Thank you.
Sure, Vishwa. Thank you. Thank you for the question first. I think, Riaz, thank you. I think, I don't know where he is now, but again, it's important for us to talk about Riaz as many times as we can, right?
A big round of applause to Riaz, please.
So, Vishwa, I think, talking about generative AI, right? I think, before getting there, so artificial intelligence is already there, part of our overall gamut of HR for almost like last 10 years now, right? So if we look at from a maybe on a HR point of view, I think after COVID, when things have moved from being people coming to offices to actually being people working from the remote workplaces, I think generative AI is actually kind of becoming one of the important things about it, right? So I think again coming back on that, largely from a tech point of view, in terms of actually employee engagement, the gamification is actually kind of becoming extremely important on that, and moving forward, the technology is going to move much more faster on generative AI.
Super. Thank you. Thanks for that. So, Savita, maybe let's go to you. So we did start looking at something called as data.
Yeah.
Then slowly and steadily, this mammoth called AI came into picture. Then now generative AI. I don't know what is tomorrow. I know roots are very important, but spend some time on use of this technology, this beautiful piece of technology in recruiting. You've been one of the star recruiting leaders across the world. You've also recently won an award for being best talent advisor to the large companies. So what is your thought on how do we use this technology to hire best of the best talent? Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, good evening, everyone. And thank you, Riaz and Repute, for inviting me here, and Vishwa for enabling it. It's been a presently different from what I usually attend, because it's mostly with the TA fraternity or HR fraternity, and this is a good learning experience and wonderful to meet all the entrepreneurs here. So to your question on, it was more on the nuances, right? Yeah. So generative AI is a big buzzword right here. And one of the places where it has disrupted the most is in the area of talent acquisition. Yeah, in the area of talent acquisition and recruitment. So one of the things that you need to keep in mind when you look at taking a product like this or at something an AI or Gen AI enabled products is more on the area of whether how is it transparent, is it fair, and is there accountability for it?
Yeah.
For example, when you are buying a product, or whether you're building a product or buying a product, how is it fair? Is it fair to all the people who are applying to your jobs? Are they, does it do justice to everybody, irrespective of their backgrounds, who apply to your job? And then, is it transparent? Are we transparent with what we are going to do with the data of what we are collecting, which is very important? And then, how are we going to handle the data? And then accountability to what are you going to do with that data is very important. So these three things have to be kept in mind whenever you look at any product that is enabled by AI.
So in short, you're saying that generative AI can help you to find the right person at the right time with right quality and all that.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
and at the right cost as well. But there are many nuances that you need to keep in mind about it. Yeah.
You're talking about data privacy and all that stuff and
Yes,
data
of course.
security.
Yeah, data privacy. And of course, we'll talk a little more about biases and others that will creep in maybe later. Yeah.
Okay. So how many of you are building businesses here? Can you raise your hand? You are owners of the businesses.
What's that?
Okay. How many of you are hiring talent as we speak? You are hiring people. All of you, right? Do you think hiring the right person is very difficult? Okay. Now, let me ask you. So you've hired a best talent, but is it important to retain the talent? Good talent? Okay, that's where my question, Grace. So do you think this beautiful piece of technology can help engaging talent and also make them stay with us? From a business partnering point of view, you've been a person who has always been looked after in HR industry. You've always been stalwart. Worked with Informatica, which is also an enterprise data kind of company. You know data very well. And Informatica, for various reasons, is also known to be best talent attractor. And now I want to spend your time on how are you retaining a good talent. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. I would love to start with saying everybody is ready for AI. And of course, generative AI, except your data. And that's where Informatica comes in. I work for this data management company where, we help manage data. And the reason I'm really highlighting on this is because the world is moving towards AI and Gen AI. Now, what does it mean to people in human resources? And what does that mean to employees at the receiving end, right? That's what I want to really touch upon, Vishwa. And from an employee engagement, business partnering standpoint, I think, there's going to be a revolution, a whole reshaping of how HR is going to be looked at and the employee experience is going to be looked at, right? So with a lot of adoption of the AI tools and the Gen AI tools, what we really see is a huge consolidation of all of the employee experiences within one tool, right? And that's maybe earlier we said smart work, fast work. Now I think it's going to be coupled with both, right? With a lot of optimization, a lot of efficiency gains. But ultimately, I think what I'm trying to highlight here is the world is going to move into a space where any employee will have a single platform where they could really look at and use for performance management, for well-being, for recognition, so on and so forth. So everything's going to be under that one umbrella. And what's important to keep in mind is the experience part of it, right? We need to be very consciously aware and take into account that the human element is not compromised.
Yeah.
That's going to be very, very important when, we are really adopting to AI. And of course, I think there are a lot of reports, and one of them referring to Gartner, I think the 2024 report, really talks about the next 5 years when, most organizations are going to invest anywhere between 45 to 60% of their investments into technology, into AI. And planning that ahead, making sure technology is really working for us and not against us is something that we need to keep in mind.
Thank you. Thank you. I think you spoke about experience, you spoke about efficiency, you spoke about effectiveness. I think tools can help us. The interesting point that you mentioned is human element. I definitely want to see a day where computers take on us, but then I don't think so that will happen. Thank you very much for that. So this is a human kind of a thing. So maybe I think I'll put you on spot for a while, right? So
Please, yeah.
World Economic Forum report recently says that the next 10 years belong to entrepreneurs,
Okay.
and next 10 years belong to those people who adopt technology, generative AI, right? And you've been a gamification enthusiast, and you've led organizations as talent head, and then now you started your own journey. So talk about maybe part B of the story of how you built this organization, how you use technology and gamification per se. Thank you.
Sure, Vishwa. So before getting into your the last question, maybe just to add what Grace talked about it, the AI and technology usage on human element in AI, right? So quick background of us. Shenzyn is a platform we built to actually improve diversity. But when we started about 5 years ago, we thought that actually shall we just think about AI and use data and give right inputs to users, which is any a women employee or a person who's actually taken a break, wanted to come back to the industry. How do they apply, right? When they're coming back and trying to apply, they may be actually not relevant anymore because they took a gap of an year or a year and a half. By the time they come back and the technology is smooth, and then how do you make them relevant? So that's where we thought that, okay, the application they put in, they actually kind of, the application, actually the platform of us, give them to understand by looking at the data of industry's job descriptions, make them kind of matchmaking of these two, and then give them right inputs to also kind of make them trainable in the platform itself, right? So I think, we've been doing it for almost like 5.5 years now.
Super.
So that is one part of it, right? And coming back to your question, Vishwa. So I was part of industry couple of decades, dealt roles like, head of talent acquisition for firms like Genpact. I think not the way I think others, the gentleman worked for 32 years in one firm, I think, but I spent about a couple of, 10 years in the one firm, right? So while we were working there, I think, there is always a tempting mindset of, shall we start something on our own, right? And again, when you start and how do you start it, and then there are a lot of basic, mindset of coming out of it, and then, creating funds and all this stuff happens. But again, when we kind of started, and then COVID kind of got hit us, and then, next 2 years we kind of went back on it and tried to, looking at it. But when you sit on this part of entrepreneur world, I think it's looks easy from outside, but then there is a lot more, things you need to go through it.
You're making a lot of money, we know that. So any of you wanted to hire gender diversity talent, please reach out to him after this break. Maybe he has a lot of database. So, Savita, to you, I think there is a recent discussion happening on, yes, technology is good, but then is it biased, right? How safe we can use technology and all that stuff. And you have been an avid person talking about how do we ensure that technology is not so biased. Talk about your experience of what you have done in that area. Thank you.
Yeah. So, great question. I think one of the biggest things that negative part of the AI, using AI has been seen that there's a lot of bias that creeps in. There's algorithmic bias that creeps in because the machine learns based on the data set that you give the machine. And hence, if your data set is not correct or not good and not diverse, the machine is going to throw the same kind of matches, when you are looking for example, hiring a person. So the solution to that is my take is I have been associated with also building up AI product in my previous organization. And that was a very big learning for me. Because the first thing that we did was to find out, first thing what we all got together to do that was to look at the ethics and the bias that comes in when you build these products. And one of the eye-openers for me was, we read a few books, and one of the books which I recommend to everyone is Weapons of Math Destruction by Cathy O'Neil. That's a wonderful book, a small book, but it gives you really the picture of what can go wrong if your algorithm is wrong and biased, and how much it can disrupt and bring about negative consequences, not just on your organization, but also a society at large. So one of the important things to do when you're building a product or buying a product is to ensure that, like I said in the previous time, that we have to look at whether the product is fair to everyone who applies, whether there's transparency, there's accountability, and how do you do away with the algorithmic biases. It begins, the first step to start with itself is your job descriptions. It's very important that your job descriptions are gender neutral. It will enable everyone to apply. It doesn't favor only certain type of people, certain race or background or orientation, and make sure that it is open and everyone who is qualified for the job, who has the right qualifications, can apply, irrespective of the background, their gender, or their orientation, what they come from. Especially if you want to attract people, say with people with disabilities or people who come from minority communities or minority representation, for example, your LGBTQ, or you want to attract women who have taken a break and want to come back, or anyone who has taken a break for whatever reasons and want to come back. Your job description should be neutral, and everyone should be able to apply. That's the first step. The second step is that when you have to do periodic auditing of the algorithms that are running in the background to find your candidates for you. That is second thing which is very important. The third thing is, when you are doing your trials, make sure that there is also a human involved, so that the human also does the shortlisting and the machine also does it, and then you look at both the results and figure out if there is any bias that has crept in. So these three things are very important. Especially when you're buying a product, when you have a product which you want to deploy.
It sounded like a mini thesis, what you said, but I think you said transparency, you said
fairness.
Something to do with fairness, you spoke about audit,
yeah.
Right? So, we also do audit for our own work, right? So why can't we do audit for the systems? This is a great thought. Thank you very much for that. So by the way, as we speak, in the last 2 to 3 weeks, there's a lot of news going on. The AGI, the system can think like human beings, is already in, which means that there are systems who can think like us. So be aware of that. So there is a big announcement coming in your way. In next 2 to 3 months, you will see that there are systems who can just think like us. They're doing what we wanted them to do, but they're also thinking in the way we are asking them to think. So Grace, you spoke about employee engagement. For any organization, talent is very important, and top talent definitely, right? I'm not differentiating top and talent and all. And top talent needs a lot of different way of managing and talent, this thing. So do you think there is any use case of any technology or any other practice that can hold top talent of your organization within yourself? Thank you.
I think fantastic question, actually, and a very, very relevant one. AI or no AI, I think it's still a very, very relevant one. How do you really ensure you engage and retain top talent? I think that's definitely something every business leader and HR leader need to really look at in close proximity from time to time. Now, some of the things that we do here at Informatica is an example that I can share, where we really ensure top talent, first of all, is identified. It's constantly nurtured. When I say nurtured, the only difference between mediocre talent and top talent is they love the stretch element, right? Okay. They love to go that extra mile and be recognized for that. And I think that's very, very important to ensure you're constantly challenging them, challenging their skills. And also now with technology, it's a lot easy to do that, right? How you can, for example, every quarter, even without expecting, my boss will add one more stretch element to my goal sheet on the tool, right? Without even having a conversation, because they know that I am much more capable of executing that. So I think ensuring that stretch element is in there, ensuring that that piece of work is recognized from time to time, and of course, the most important thing is their relevance in the organization, right? Ensure they feel relevant, ensure we identify skilling needs, and constantly keep investing in upskilling. I think those are some things, that I can think of right now, which will definitely keep our employees, the top talent engaged. And of course, you keep them engaged to such an extent where they do not use your company internet to find their next job,
Yeah,
right?
that's
what I would say.
So Microsoft now knows how many of LinkedIn employees are actually trying to do. Anyway, so it's kind of a rapid fire. You will not have more than a minute to answer it. Gamification is making a lot of news, right? And given an opportunity, a gamified onboarding is much better than a typical onboarding which happens. 2 cents on gamification?
Gamification is always, it's like has to be with fun element around that. That's where I think, this gamification came in, right? So while you just make it onboarding as smooth as it's possible, that's what I feel.
Very good, thank you. So Grace, to you, every HR person should play with data. When I say play, in the meaning of understanding and all that stuff. So what would you want new generation HR person to really have? Because I see some students, if you can, guys, raise your hand if you are students, yeah, okay. So any students who are aspiring to be somebody like us, what should they do with data from the beginning to whatever they can do? Thank you.
So even before I get to the students out there, I think the first thing is for the organization to really have appetite to embrace data, right? That's going to be very, very important. And now coming to the students, I think the number one thing I would say is curiosity and appetite, right? You may not be successful with the data because it's all over the place. Now, which do you identify as clean data and not so clean data, right? It's very, very important to be smart enough to really understand the data governance around the whole, data aspect. And once you understand the data governance around the data aspect, there are multiple things that you can do. You get into core data analytics, you teach machine how to read data. You could have multiple roles that you can, but I think it's important to really have that keen eye for detail, curiosity, and then really giving it a shot, not just once, but 1,000,000 times to ensure you're really getting the required output. And then, you can do data testing, you can do various other things just to ensure machine is able to really learn well from you. Okay. And then the outputs really, supporting business decisions and people decisions.
Thank you, it was great. So guys, hope you guys got something. So we were talking on the coffee table and you said, Vishwa, while problem solving is important, identifying a problem is also very, very important. Can you throw some light on that? Within the HR system or anything like that?
Identifying the problem. Yeah. So from a talent acquisition perspective, I can say that there are two big problems. One is that for any job you advertise, you're going to get thousands of people applying and even more in a country like us. So how do you make sure that you pick the right candidate and how do you pick the right people? And how do you not miss out on the ones who are good, but are sitting under the layers and layers of applications that come into you? So how do you have a system that is going to enable you to find the right person and also not neglect the ones who are good because of the huge volume of applications that you have?
Wow.
The second important point was that when you're hiring, there may be hundreds of people who have not applied to you, who may have not come to you. So how do you go and find these hidden gems, so-called hidden gems, right? So these are the two very important problems that you need to solve for when you want to build a good organization, when you want to bring top talent into your organization. And I believe strongly that AI or Gen AI and the products around it can help us greatly in this. If we have an eye for making sure that there is no bias in it and the systems are fair, and we are careful of what we want and what we are doing, and we have a good governance system around it, I'm sure these problems can be overcome.
I think, thank you very much for that. We are on the top of the hour.
Maybe, Vishwa, I have a question for you, right? So
you want to put me on spot?
Yeah, I want to put you on spot, right? Because you are actually putting us on spot. So you are part of ANSR, one and only the firm which is bringing GCCs from almost like a couple of decades. So how is GCCs actually disrupting, talking about AI? What are you guys doing it, and especially you being one of the Gen AI person in the industry? So can you throw some light on that?
So GCCs are here to stay. In fact, we are getting every month at least 3 to 4 new GCCs to India. So we have a lot of work to do, and I have a lot of work to do. And every second or third GCCs that we are seeing is their top tech client. So they wanted to solve their problems through technology and obviously generative AI. So that's here to stay, Murli. And any person who understands generative AI at the third level of question, you still have some employability. You can be a functional person in finance, HR, or technology. I think you need to have third level of answer to generative AI. That's where your understanding of generative AI is better than anybody else who's talking about it, right? So most of the problems can be solved through generative AI, at least large language models as we speak. So that's pretty much, I think, any questions we have from the audience, I think we can take one, if not more than that. You can be brief about yourself and then maybe your question. This is the last session. I know that after this, there's a lot of entertainment coming in your way.
So before, actually, hold on. So Vishwanadh Raju heads a GCC as the head of TA, Talent Acquisition Operations, and does an absolutely amazing job at getting the entire industry of human resources also together at multiple platforms. And, you know, he's put in this entire panel so beautifully, all of them here. This is your golden opportunity. If you want to ask any question with these brands of compassion, as I call them, because they are the HR leaders, and HR at the core of their heart is all about compassion and people, right? So if there's any question that you want to ask, any of you, this is your moment. Yes, there is somebody there. Can we have a mic go out to that gentleman there at the aisle, please, who has a question? And please, sir, introduce yourself and also ask it, you know, if it's to a particular person, name them and ask them that question.
So good evening, panelists, and to everyone. This is Atharv. So I have one question related to Gen AI. So it's like, how can Gen AI revolutionize the talent management while considering the ethical consideration and social considerations?
Yeah. So I can take this, okay? Yeah, so that's a great question, and that's what we have been trying to talk about, right? So when the products were developed, like really tech in HR is relatively new. I think it's only after 2014 that we saw a big spurt in this domain. Then the earlier products that came in did not think too much about bias because they were finding the good candidates, they were finding the right people, and it was so good. But then when you look, you will see that at the end of the day, you're going to find the same kind of people coming into your organization because there's a bias that has been, it's called algorithmic bias, because the data set what you use to train the system, it should be diverse. It should have all kinds of people, and we should keep refreshing it. If you don't do that, then you'll end up having the same kind of people with the same college and the same background and the same skills that will come into your organization. So nowadays, the newer products that are coming in the market, people are being very conscious of that. And in fact, there are ethics of that product is studied in detail before it is even released into the market. And there are many institutes like the Alan Turing Institute that continuously does research in this, so that there are tools that are getting built to help us detect the bias that comes into the system. So with all this, it can get reduced. And like I said, when you are also, you should also have a human intervene when you can just not depend only on the machine, to take away all these little other things, the biases that may creep in. We should be very conscious and make sure that it is fair, and in the end, it should bring about social and economic justice to all the people as well.
Thanks, thank you. One short answer is auditing your own software.
Yeah, auditing your software.
About what it was supposed to give versus what it is giving.
Yeah.
That is one way of looking at it. And then there is this ethical considerations of the systems keep coming in the internet. You plug and place those things into the system. Last but not the least, the person who is using the system should know better than the system. Otherwise, we are just biased by what the system is giving. So I think it is our responsibility to constantly nudge ourselves to be up the game so that we can make the system work. Otherwise, what will happen is system will tell us what we need to do, and we don't want to get there. Thank you. Thank you very much, Riaz and team. It was wonderful. Thank you very much, panelists.